We are doing something different this morning. All are invited to stand and move and light a candle of joy or sorrow, or both. And I encourage you to follow the example of others who demonstrate this energizing activity this morning. Candles are at the side, candles are in the front. I welcome you.
The opening gathering song is number 389, Gathered Here in the Mystery. We will sing it 3 or 4 times. The first time is an entire congregation, and then in canon, first, second. Please rise. And gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church. Cedar Lane is a liberal religious community where we gather to explore the eternal, to nurture community, and to build a more just world. We aspire to be a community where love works. My name is Michael Benefiel, and I'm worship associate this morning. I'm glad to be here, and I'm delighted to see that you're here too. I didn't remember to silence my cell phone, so I'll do that now, and I'd like to encourage all of you to use your electronic devices on worship mode. If you're watching our live stream of this worship service, I can see you in my imagination, and I welcome you through mediated reality on behalf of our faith community. I mean you, whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you find yourself on your spiritual journey, and whatever your life's circumstances this morning, you are welcome here and now. Thank you very much for choosing to join us. There are fans in our congregation this morning who have come for the Sanctuaries. And there are visitors who are looking for a faith community home in this area. And if any of those people have enough courage to raise a hand and identify their honored visitor status, we will reward you with a small gift wrapped in your honor. Our welcome continues after we sing Sia Hamba together for our postlude. We invite you to join us in the lounge, which is out the doors to your right as you exit. And you can have coffee, tea, water, something refreshing, and engage in social exchange and conversation. If you are willing to choose a yellow mug, you signal your willingness for a conversation with strangers who might become friends. At Cedar Lane, are you ready? Yellow means hello. Hello. Our worship is already being energized and enriched by the Sanctuaries. A word of introduction. The Sanctuaries is a racially and spiritually arts community founded by UU minister, the Reverend Eric Martinez Resley. He says, at a time of deep division within our country, this community brings creative people of diverse backgrounds together to heal our neighborhoods and promote justice throughout the city, and I dare say the nation and the world. Those of you who are going to become fans of the Sanctuaries this morning will find that your wish to hear more and learn more can be satisfied following this worship by purchasing CDs, which will be on sale at the back. I would like you to turn and greet your immediate neighbor. I will ring a chime to bring us back together for our next musical offering.
That was great, man. What,
You're doing
what
okay.
a plug.
think my vision is blurred. I've seen my dreams deferred. What's the word on the curb? While my brother smokes herb, he's medicating from the frustrating, daily suffocating. He's supposed to be patient. He doesn't look like he's gonna make it. What's a man supposed to do? What's a man supposed to be? What does it take to get some food? What does it taste like to be free? Can I sit up at your table, break some bread, exchange a fable? Love to see my brother thrive, yet times I feel like Cain and Abel. Am I able to be better than my circumstance? Moving, but I can't advance. I guess I'm still afraid to fight the boogeyman. My demons haunt me, cops haunt me, got a target on me. Forgive me, Martin, I'm just airing out my dirty laundry. They still judging what I look like, ain't afraid to throw a hook right. The fight for life, I take what's left and make it right. I pray to God to find the answer every time I'm stuck. No need to rush, just let the love run over in my cup. God is patient with his son, he planted the seed and let it grow. When I love it unconditional, I learn to let it go. Open your arms, it's what I'm talking about. Without a doubt, I can feel the love reaching out. We invite you into this space with us. We know that there's a lot going on inside of us, a lot going on outside of us, and we invite you to let go of all that and join us in this space. Hopefully we can find a little bit of healing today, a little bit of time away from all the craziness and madness and maybe the heartbreak and the pain and anxiety. Maybe you don't feel like you're enough, but we invite you into this moment to be fulfilled with who you are. Be thankful and be gracious. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have here at Cedar Lane an ongoing discussion about the value of applause, I would like to thank you very much for not applauding that beautiful music. And I would like to thank our artists for sharing so generously their gifts. Would you please rise in body or in spirit as we do the opening words and light our chalice together? As Reverend Eric lights our chalice today, please say with me the chalice lighting words as printed in our order of celebration. They are words by Dr. Cornell West. The arts reveal to us the paradox of human freedom. We must be strong enough to resist the prevailing forms of bondage, yet honest enough to acknowledge our weaknesses in the face of death and disappointment.
I'm a slave to the beats. I'm a slave to the story that I paved in the streets. I'm a slave to my job with a ball and chain. I'm a slave to the poison I eat, the liquor I drink, the fear I might sink, and I'm a slave to the money in the bank. The way I was raised, what I am or what I ain't. And man, I'm a slave to the thoughts I think. I like bad bees and rap music, smoking weed and acting stupid. Male ego, I had to prove it. See, I got locked up like I had to do it. Like it was a rite of passage, but I'm flying past it. Forgive me, Pops, for acting like a bastard. Walking backward, going down the ladder, now I'm stepping up cause I got the power. No handcuffs, just a timepiece cause I'm keeping track of God's timing. It may not come when I want it, but it's gonna be there right on rhyme. To these beats, I measure these lines. I stay on my cadence, I made a tune that's fine. I wrote a signature and it's mine. That delivery's right on time. I found the answer to the mystery. I spoke to God, she spoke back to me. She said, use the music to get back to me so I could break the chain like Black history. It's okay to be the man that's acting wild, as long as I don't have it twisted and I'm acting child. I changed my life like I changed my style. The first step in a journey of 1,000 miles with love.
Break those chains with love, break those chains.
Let's break them.
Break those chains with love, break those chains. Break those chains with love, break those chains. Break those chains with love, break those chains.
I'm a slave to the beats. I'm a slave to the story that I paved in the streets. I'm a slave to this job with a ball and chain. I'm a slave to the poison I eat, the liquor I drink, the fear I might sink. Homie, I'm a slave to the money in the bank, the way I was raised, what I am or what I ain't. Man, I'm a slave to the thought that I think I like bad bees and rap music, smoking weed and acting stupid. Male ego, I had to prove it. Got locked up like I had to do it, like a rite of passage. I'm flying past it. Forgive me, Pops, for acting like a bastard. Walking backward, going down the ladder, and I'm stepping up cause I got the power, no handcuffs. Timepiece, keeping track of God's timing, cause it may not come when I want it, but it's gonna be there right on rhyme. To these beats, I measure these lines, stay in my cadence, make a tune that's fine. I wrote a signature and it's mine, that delivery's right on time. I found the answer to the mystery. I spoke to God, she spoke back to me. She said, use the music, get back to me. I'ma break the chain like Black history. It's okay to be the man that's acting wild, long as I don't have it twisted, I'm acting child. Changed my life like I changed my style, the first step in a journey of 1,000 miles with love.
Break those chains with love, break those chains.
Harriet Tubman must have freed hundreds, if not thousands of slaves, and she said she would have freed thousands more if they had only known that they were slaves. See, we all have something that we're slave to, something that's holding us back. But the song is an invitation to let those things go. Because it's not until we let those things go that we can truly embrace our freedom. Oh, there we go. Hey, all right. All right, this thing works. Good morning, everybody. All right. Can we get a little more energy? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Osa.
All right. That's more like it. That's better. It's okay to give that energy. People on stage need energy from people participating. So it's okay. Give a little energy. My name is Osariton Obasaki. I go by Osa. And I guess I'm supposed to speak to the power of justice. It's a little bit ironic for me because if I'm really honest with y'all, I can't exactly say I know what justice feels like. I have these ideas about what it's supposed to be. You know, I've read and heard speeches about dreams about what freedom might be and what justice might be like, but honestly, I can't say that I've experienced it. I definitely know what injustice feels like. I know what it feels like to desire justice and really want it. I think of a time in my life, though, where I might be able to say I've experienced justice. So I was 21. I was at a training to be a summer camp counselor for kids' computer camp. That's right. I was a geek camp counselor. And at the training was pretty cool, though. It was in Las Vegas. It was my first time in Vegas. You know, I was 21. I was ready. And so there was one night after the all-day trainings, and there was one night we decided to go hang out at the club in the hotel we were staying in. So it was like a few of my potential coworkers and people that I met, and the director of all the programs. And we go to the club, and it's a pretty cool club. It's pretty chill, Folks are just kind of going in casually, in between gambling and doing whatever and whatnot. And so when we get in there, I get to the line, and of course, I get stopped by the bouncer. I don't know what reason he picked. I don't know. There clearly wasn't any formal guidelines for a dress code in the club or anything. It's just kind of go. But for some reason, I got stopped. I think it's because I had on a t-shirt, or maybe I had on some shorts, but nothing that anyone else who just walked in didn't have on. Why me? Why did I get picked out? And of course, I was prepared to deal with it. It's embarrassing. It happens often to me, though. I'm usually the target of. So I don't really like going to the club a whole lot. Just don't, because sometimes you never know. I might just get picked on, and I've learned to kind of develop a certain resistance to it. And so, at that moment, I was starting to, start to defend myself. Yo, man, what you talking about? And he came in the club with slippers. But what was really amazing to me is the director of our program. She jumped in almost immediately. She jumped in and she was like, well, "What are you talking about? Where is she?" She got in the bouncer's face. She really got in his face. I was like, "Whoa, little lady," and she really was upset. She was upset for me. And she vouched for me, and I got into the club. We had a great night. It was awesome. But that moment when I'll say her name was Kathleen. That moment when Kathleen, she really stepped in for me. I really appreciated that because I felt like I received a small form of justice. And though she has some things going for her that helped me get into the club, middle-aged white woman. She had a little bit more, privileged than me, right? We understand that, how that goes. But that really, she was also the director of the program. She was also the one paying for all the rooms and, all that stuff. So she kind of got me in relatively easy. But that wasn't nearly as impressive to me as the fact that she actually did it out of the earnest love and compassion in her heart. She didn't have to. She really didn't have to. She could have just been like, oh, well, that's what the bouncers say. See you in the hotel later, right? She could have really just left that, but she genuinely had a desire to really include me, to make me feel included, to make me feel part of the team. And see, that goes a long way in terms of justice. We don't have to be anybody with a certain position or certain income level or certain, race or color or anything. I think justice is in the little things that we do, the little things that we do to the people that are around us. A lot of times when I think about justice, it's like this huge thing where I'm thinking about the systematic, racism and the injustice in the prison system and mass incarceration, and those things tend to make me feel really small and really unable to help. But then when I think more about the power of justice in the little things, how I can treat the next person that's close to me, who I see on a regular basis, how I treat my neighbors, how I engage with the young people in the community. I mean, those small forms of justice can go a long way with what little power that I do have. See, taking up those small forms of justice empower me to feel like I can make a difference. Beyond the pressure of like, yeah, let's end racism. That's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while. Take us a while to get to this point. But what can I do as an individual? What can I do as an individual in my circle, in my community, in my neighborhood? And that in turn becomes powerful. That in turn becomes powerful about what we can do, about what I can do for justice, to move towards it. Because empowering people is it sounds bigger than it has to be, but I believe it's possible for all of us as individuals. We don't have to wait around for somebody to come and do it for us. No one is really going to do it for us. We have to feel empowered for ourselves to find justice, to create justice, to practice justice. Practice that. We don't have to be judges or lawyers to begin that practice. And so for me, I'm constantly trying to figure out what that looks like in my everyday life. I can point it out for some other people. I have an idea about what some other people are supposed to be doing for justice. But what about myself as an individual? I think that's the most powerful question. What can I do to create justice, to find justice, to really understand what it means for myself? And I invite us all to kind of reflect on those things and think about what that means for us. What is the power of justice? Thank you.
We gather each week, both for our own needs and to bear witness to the joys, sorrows, and milestones that unfold in all of our lives, and to be welcoming companions to one another throughout these profound journeys of faith. We gather to build a place of solace and healing, a place of welcome and hope, a place of meaning, belonging, and joy. In this time of mindfulness, our condolences are with Cedar Laner, Brent Garland, and his family as they mourn the death of Brent's grandmother, Alice. Our hearts are with you, Brent, Chris, and Afa. I am sorry to announce the death of former Cedar Lane member Ernie Buell, son-in-law of Cedar Laner Marjorie Rhinus. A service celebrating his life was held yesterday here at Cedar Lane. Our healing wishes go to Lee McNair as she recovers from her hip surgery this week. We send healing wishes to Marcia Fillier, who is recovering at home with a broken back. Your cards and your calls are welcome. I am sorry to share the news that Sarah Deschler's uncle suffered a severe stroke earlier this week. Our healing wishes are with him, and our healing wishes are with the family. And I know that you will join Carol Rogantine in mourning the death of her son-in-law's father this morning. May all these friends of ours and all those with joys and sorrows living unspoken in our hearts be held in the embrace of our community, and in prayer and in silence. Reverend Eric has entrusted me with the prayer and reflection this morning. Please join me in a moment of reflection and prayer. I hear a mother's lament at the death of her son, Sean Smith, killed in Benghazi, Libya. And I hear grieving parents mourn the death of their beloved son, U.S. Army Captain Humayun Khan, in Bakuba, Iraq. And I see in my imagination the embalmed remains of Freddie Gray lying in his coffin at the New Shiloh Baptist Church in Baltimore as his bereaved family and his worship community honor his spiritual homecoming. These are all violent, agonizing, awful deaths. I acknowledge our weaknesses in the face of death. These are not deaths of strangers. They are our children, our parents, our brothers and sisters, our siblings. As the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote from Birmingham, after the bombing which took the lives of our daughters, Addie Mae Collins, Denise McNair, Carol Robertson, and Cynthia Wesley in 1963, all are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. This morning, I arrive at this sacred space heartbroken, footsore, and fearful, knowing my weakness as a pilgrim on life's journey. I come seeking inspiration, renewal, healing, and hope in our community of faith. My prayer, my wish, my reflection today is that we may find energy together to nurture our spiritual community, that we may choose to reach out with love to all who join us this morning. Only love can drive out fear. May we respond to Osa's invitation that we think of acting for justice in the small, powerful ways we live our lives. May we gather to explore the eternal, nurture community, and build a more just world. May we embrace together hope, healing, hospitality. Let our lives show love works. As we enter the silence together, I invite those grieving a loss or commemorating an anniversary to stand in mourning and memory until our hymn.
Don't ask me to be like her, to hide myself instead. Let me cry, let me scream, let me fall, let me fall apart.
நினைவு நல்லது வேண்டும் நெருங்கின பொருள் கைப்பட வேண்டும் மனதில்
I'm only held hostage by your fear, walking through this world alone. I want love, I want to feel, I want to be human.
gagari sadari gagari sari gari sari sada sari ga ba gari sari ga ba gari sari gari sari gari ga ba da ba da da ba ga da ba gari gagari sadari gagari sari gari sari sada sari ga ba gari sari ga ba gari sari gari sari gari ga ba da ba da ba ga da ba gari manadil
I'm tired of all your secrets. I refuse to pretend. I wanna tell, I wanna share, I wanna be human,
gaga pa ba da ba da sa da ba ga da ba da ga da ba ga ri sa ri gaga pa ba da ba da sa da ba ga da ba da ga da ba ga ri sa ri gaga pa ba da sa da sa ri sa ga ri sa da sa ri sa da ba da sa da ba ga ri sa ri manadallu devindu
Your secrets won't hold me back. I won't feel ashamed of myself. I wanna be human,
pa da ba ga ri sa ri ga ri sa da sa ri ga pa da sa da pa da ba ga ri sa ri ga ri sa da sa ri ga pa da sa da pa sa ri ga ri sa da ba ga ri sa ri sa da sa ri ga ga ba da da sa ri ga ri da sa ri sa pa da sa da ga pa da ba ri sa da ba ga ri sa ri manadallu devindu
I wanna be human. I wanna be human, human, Thank you. So to say that music is a powerful way of bridging divides is kind of a cliche. I think a lot of people think of it as a cliche, but throughout my life, it's been one of the most true and constant things. I grew up at the crossroads of many different cultures, India, Italy, the US, and spent my childhood divided between DC and Puerto Rico, which for anyone who's ever made a trip to Puerto Rico will see are diametrically opposed worlds. And so kind of communication has always been a real preoccupation of mine, both because of what I've seen can happen, the ways that people can love across these so-called divides, and also like how those divides are really true in some ways, and the fact that there are people, who may even speak the same language who cannot and do not communicate with each other just because we're all socialized into a different worldview, and I think that sometimes, in some instances, we don't really have a lot of practice at communicating across those divisions. But it's really important that we do so. So music for me has always been a really important way of kind of accessing that space of beauty and humanity that's totally there and totally present among anybody who kind of connects with their hearts. And so I just grew up surrounded by music from different parts of the world, but found a real excitement in exploring those all of them at the same time, and also a real unity from the fact that they kind of all come from the same human place. So when I joined the Sanctuaries about a year ago, it's been a really great experience, and it kind of took that type of engagement with music to a new level, because the way we work is that as we compose our songs, we do it together and in this really holistic way. We kind of try to learn each other's stories and understand why this verse or like this, X bar of music kind of means so much to them, and so to each of us. And so in the process of coming up with these things that often do fall into that category of fusion, we've also learned so much about each other. So I guess, my reflection today in one sentence really is just, I think that music is such an incredibly powerful educator in a very humane way. It cultivates empathy, and it also cultivates a curiosity about the world, which I think is something that we could use more of and is maybe more powerful than we recognize. And so it's just, that's, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Priya, by the way, means love. So we heard someone say we should think of love all the time. My wife's name, Neha, also means love in Sanskrit. I grew up in South India, and growing up in India, we always encountered things, a mix of popular sayings and scientific facts, casually mixed in together without regard to whether it's actually a scientific fact or not. So I'm going to say something, but I'm going to have to Google it later to verify the scientific fact behind it. But my dad used to say that the swan is the only bird or only species capable of separating milk and water. If you put milk and water in a jar, no other species has the ability to distinguish between the milk particles and the water particles. Again, I'll have to verify this. So when we talk about art, growing up in India, it was always about science. So art is actually practiced everywhere, but it is not taken in the same vein as science. And I used to think it is only a problem in India, but I was unfortunately shocked by when I moved to the US that it's almost the same here, because wherever I go, people ask me, okay, your music was wonderful, but what do you do? I think this divide between art and science, in my mind, never existed, because when I learned art, I learned Indian classical music, which is very math and science oriented I think, similar to Western classical music, where you have to remember things in a very precise manner. And when I think of science, I think a lot of the subjects in science I was just lost because it was not like mathematics. You have to be very imaginative, things that you cannot see, things that at a microscopic level as well as a macroscopic level. You just have to take someone's word for it, or some text that you have to believe in. So I think this power of art is to the fact that how similar to what people say how the left and right brain works. I think there's space for everything. Unless we are a swan, we are kind of forced to separate those out. I think life is a great balance between the arts as well as everything else, and I'm really fortunate that arts is an integral part of my life. And I think it speaks to why I'm part of the Sanctuaries as well, because in Sanctuaries I feel we have various elements coming together. Arts is a common driving force that keeps us together. The song we just performed, Human, when we started this song last year, we brought two poems together. The poem I sang was in Tamil, which is a poem from 100 years ago, written by a freedom fighter. And the song actually says, I need strength in my heart, I need truth in my words. And the song is about what I need and what I want. And then the other poem that was written was about what I don't want to be. I don't want to be like her, I don't want to be like this. And so we brought it together. I felt there was always room for bringing things together and integrating, and that's one of the reasons I'm really happy about the fact that I'm in Sanctuaries and I get to have these wonderful experiences. And I think the power of art has all this potential that we don't even know about yet. Thank you.
I hope that you're feeling the power of this worship community this morning. Where would I be if I weren't here at Cedar Lane today? Thank you very much for being here. And I'm going to invite Mary and our other ushers to start coming forward, because now it's time for the offertory. And you know that this is an invitation to recommit to the mission and ministry of our faith community and to the common values expressed in our Unitarian Universalist principles. Ushers, don't be shy. We love you. We want you to be part of this. Our offering reminds us that our congregation belongs to us, to each and to all of us. We respond with generosity and gratitude for our spiritual home. We are welcome to be who we are as we are, living lives of joy, hope, integrity, and service. So this morning, our ushers will receive our offering to sustain the work and ministry of Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist and of Beacon House. We give and we receive each other's gifts with gratitude and joy. The offertory will now be given and received.
Jasmine Lee on the organ. I don't know about you all, but I feel like some hip-hop organ fusion, like that's in our future. That could be really cool. More and more these days, I feel like we hear people who identify themselves as spiritual but not religious. Has anyone heard that before? I'm spiritual but not religious. I'll confess that growing up, I was religious but not spiritual. Religious but not spiritual in the sense that I would attend worship services with my parents. I would go through the motions. I would invest myself fully in the rituals because that was meaningful to my parents, because that was meaningful to my grandparents, because I understood even as a young child that these were traditions that had been passed down over generations. I was religious but not spiritual in the sense that even though I valued these large, looming, historical traditions, I struggled to find my place in them. Can anyone relate to struggling to find your place in a tradition? How do we inherit a tradition? What does it mean for us to find ourselves reflected in a tradition? I was religious, but not spiritual. But then in my senior year of high school, all of that changed. I'll never forget the day. It was a cold, rainy fall afternoon, and I had been sick for a while now. I'm talking 2 or 3 weeks, and they had done all the blood tests and various other tests and had done a couple physicals and couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I will never forget that rainy fall afternoon when the doctor came in and said, "Eric, I have good news and I have bad news. Which do you want first?" What do you choose, right? So I said, well, give me the good news first. Pad this thing a little bit for me, right? And the doctor said, the good news is that we figured out what's going on. I said, all right. So what's the bad news? And my doctor stared me in the eyes and said, Eric, you have a very advanced form of cancer. And I will be perfectly honest with you. We will do everything that we can. But this is late-stage cancer, and we can't guarantee that it will turn out the way you want it to. So there I was, a senior in high school. Man, I thought I was pretty cool, too. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I thought I was pretty invincible. I was a skater and an artist. I was kind of part of the popular crowd. I thought I had it going on. I thought that there was nothing in this world that could tear me down. And yet there I was on this hospital bed with the doctor coming in telling me that there was a good chance I wasn't going to make it out alive. Talk about a world being flipped upside down. Fast forward a couple months. Fast forward a couple rounds of chemotherapy. Fast forward a couple blood transfusions. Fast forward the gradual and then not so gradual deterioration of my health. It was to the point that I was so low energy, I was so not myself, that I was in this hospital room. I had to be brought in with the covers just hugging my chin. I was shivering because my body was so weak. I was there in this hospital room. It was dark. The shades were drawn. And I realized at that point in time that I couldn't do this alone. Here I had been someone that for so much of my life felt like I was in control. But in that moment, I realized that I had no other option but to surrender. Has anyone experienced surrender? You know, oftentimes we talk about surrender as giving up. But there's a deeper experience of surrender, I think, for those of us who have tasted it. Surrender is not giving up, but giving over. And it's one of the things, I think, surrender that brings together artists and activists, brings together the arts and those who work for justice. Because as any artist knows, there are those moments when creating art when you have no other option but to surrender. You have a blank canvas in front of you. You don't know what's going to come on that canvas. You can't think your way into creating a beautiful painting on that canvas, and yet there's this sense of surrendering, of giving yourself over to whatever may emerge in that canvas. It's the same thing with creating music, as they were describing. They don't really know what's going to be created. You can't fully design it. You surrender yourself. You give yourself over to the process of creating music. And between the many voices, between the many instruments, somehow, impossibly, something else emerges which is greater than you all. And activists know something about this too, those of you who have worked for justice. Because as Osa was saying, the looming, overwhelming sense of how do we bring justice to these unjust systems, one has no other option but to give oneself over to that trying process that at times feels impossible. And yet you're there at the rally and you don't know if your voice will be heard. You're there at the protests, you don't know if your wishes will be received. And yet somehow in the midst of those masses, in the midst of those small everyday moments in our lives, the activist knows that it's giving oneself over to the power of coalitions, to the power of people coming together, to the power of that claim, that fist that's raised in the air saying, I don't know how this is going to come about, but by God it must. That is an act of surrender. Amen? And so I ask all of us for a moment, what is the part of yourself that yearns for the invitation to surrender? What is the part of yourself that seeks to surrender? And what is the part of yourself that resists giving over control? What is the part of yourself that yearns for that experience, not of giving up, but of giving over? And what is the part of yourself that struggles to open those hands and let go? I deeply believe that our spiritual lives begin in that moment of surrender. And that can look different for each and every one of us. It will look different for each and every one of us. And yet that need to enrich our spiritual lives, that need for spirit and soul in this hurting world is so great. We have no other option but to surrender. We see it every single day. We need spiritually grounded people who are resilient in the face of so much resistance. We need spiritually grounded people who remind us of those higher values when those values are debased day and day and day after day on our political stage and in our communities. We need spiritually grounded people who are in it for the long haul, who are not going to give up when it gets hard, who are not going to give up when it isn't easy, who are not going to give up in those moments of trial and tribulation when we can't see any way through. We need spiritually grounded people that somehow, oftentimes without even knowing how, have that faith to take that next step, have that faith to move forward. Spiritually grounded people who are centered enough in who they are that they know it's worth showing up when there are so many voices that are telling us that it's not. We need spiritually grounded people like ourselves who are willing to enter into those uncertain moments of surrender and not give up, but give over. Will you be one of those spiritually grounded people.
Check, check. All right, this thing is on. Good. I got some questions, so I turned them into lessons. And from those lessons, me and you find intersection. We did some introspection after finding our direction. Through cardinal or cardinals, we are seeking those blessings from the Most High. That's why we Most High. Pick your vice, they say the Lord lives in the sky. I beg to differ, I see her and you and I. When I'm not worthy of his presence, I can't look you in the eye. I tried to find her in my image as I look at my reflection. How do I find him in me if I'm subject to your discretion? I've been told so many times that I might not make it to heaven, so I gave up my place in line so I could find my own connection. That's why I'd be ready to go, because I've been through hell and can't take it no more. I'm seeking peace with these pieces I picked that my puzzle was broken on flows. I promise to speak for myself in the voices, I'm never gonna do it for show. But at the show, deliver my passion authentic, that's how they all know it's for show. And if you feel the way that I've been feeling, then let's work together, make sure we all grow. The healer met up with the reverend, and ever since then we've been opening doors. Ain't got all the answers, but we got the key, unlocking the space for we. Matter of fact, it's bigger than that. A sanctuary you could see.
The closing words, extinguishing the chalice. Words are by Stick Man, and I want to thank Reverend Eric and the Sanctuaries and Google, which let me find out who Stick Man was. To the MCs and songwriters and creative people of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, just tell your story. Just tell your story. Just tell your story.
Thank you.
For
We're going to
those of
sing
you
Sia
whose-
Hamba, and I'm going to feed you some lyrics in a little bit, but I did want to clarify one thing. Have a moment. This morning early, I told Michael about Sarah Deschler's family illness, and he didn't have a chance to write it down, so I wanted to clarify. It's Sarah Deschler's father, not her uncle, who had a massive stroke and is in need of your prayers. Thank you very much. Let's rise and let's kick it. Sia Hamba. We sing Sia Hamba kukken yen kwen kos 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 Sia Hamba Sia Hamba Sia Hamba. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching in the light of God. Come on, join. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching. Woo! We are marching in the light of God. We are marching. We are singing in the light of God.
Singing. We are
are dancing.
We are dancing in the light of God. We are dancing in the light of God.
We are dancing.
We are dancing in the light of God.
Say it, brother.
We are dancing in the light of God. We are dancing. Ooh, we are dancing in the light of God. We are dancing. Ooh, we are dancing in the light of God.
Loving in the light of God. Loving in the light of One more time, marching in the light.
We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching. Ooh, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching. Ooh, we are marching in the light of
God. Thank you, Sanctuary.